Can you talk about what these two operations in Boston and Chicago mean in practice? Does it mean a surge in ICE agents on the ground? Does it mean that National Guard troops are moving in? How does this change the operation on
National
the ground?
Guard, they're always on the table, right? But right now it's a surge of law enforcement officers. And look, the president was clear on that 2 months ago. He said he's going to prioritize enforcement in sanctuary cities, and we talked about that before. Why? Because we know we have a problem in sanctuary cities. We know for a fact they're releasing illegal aliens, public safety threats every day. So, like I said before, we don't have that problem in Florida, right? Where every sheriff and chief works with us. So where are we going to send additional assets? Sanctuary cities where we know it's a problem.
So
and despite what Mayor Wu says, I got the data to back it up. We know how many criminal aliens are being released there. Look at the number of child predators we arrested, not just Boston, but outlying communities in Massachusetts. I mean, I spoke at the CPAC conference and I said, I just got done reading a total of 9 child predators released to the streets. So, we have the data. They are a sanctuary city. That state's a sanctuary state. I know Governor Healy made a statement, why am I so infatuated with Massachusetts? I'm infatuated with every sanctuary city. We're going to send resources there. We're going to, if they don't want to help us, to get out of the way, and we'll make your city safer for you.
But today, President Trump said he's waiting for a call from Chicago. Does that mean he's waiting for local leaders to call him before sending in National Guard troops?
They've had plenty of chances to call. We're going to go ahead and do Operation Sanctuary City. I think the president's referring to it. I'm not familiar with that, but I think he wants to talk about what more can we do to make this more efficient and more meaningful. But if they don't want to come to the table and work with us, we're going to do it anyway. If they want to sit there and watch us make their city safer, then go ahead and watch.
The operation you're talking right now is about immigration. What about
the operation? No. The operation we're talking about right now is immigration, but we're still prioritizing public safety threats and national security threats. But I made this clear from the beginning. In Sanctuary City, if we can't get the bad guy into jail because they release him to the street, we're going to go to the street. We're going to find him. If he's with others, may not be a criminal threat, but they're illegally in the United States, they're coming too. I've made that clear for months.
Tom, your reaction to the Supreme Court's decision today.
Great decision.
What's that?
Great decision.
Great decision. So how will that affect your operations in LA?
We'll continue doing the operations the way we've been doing them. I mean, I said from day one, I think the ICE officers, Board of Relations, doing the right thing. Do you know ICE officers every 6 months get Fourth Amendment refresher training? Every 6 months, so they know the law around Fourth Amendment. Who can they arrest? Where they need to arrest? Where they need to seize? Where they need to detain for questioning? They get training all the time. And I said from day one, the judge who made that first ruling and stopped it, I don't know how she gets in the officers' heads. How does she know if the officers gathered reasonable suspicion? She don't know that. The officer does that. And despite what the media said, mischaracterized me or said, well, reasonable suspicion can be based on looks alone. I never said that. I said looks are one of many factors you have to consider. It's a multitude of factors to establish reasonable suspicion. But if an illegal alien has an MS-13 tattoo on his head, that's certainly going to be one of the factors that we consider when we add a bunch of factors together. It's a culmination of factors, not one factor, different factors.
And to Salina's point, I think what she was perhaps getting at is at one point the president was saying that we're going into Chicago. Last week he said he was waiting on the call to Chicago. Now you're saying you're definitely going in? Can you clarify that?
We're in Chicago. We've been in Chicago from day one. We've increased resources in Chicago. As far as a massive operation, we'll see what happens. But right now, we're in Chicago.
The Supreme Court today said that apparent ethnicity is a relevant factor for reasonable suspicion for immigration detention stops. Is racial profiling justified?
There's no racial profiling.
Are you encouraging your agents to racially profile individuals in this country as part of their immigration?
Of course I'm not. It's illegal. We're not racial profiling anybody. I just said it.
You're not using race. You're not using race to justify.
I just said we have to establish reasonable suspicion. That's the legal framework.
So can you clarify what that looks like?
There's a myriad of factors. For instance, they say, well, ICE officers jumping out of vans in Home Depot. Were they there during the surveillance? Were they there when they were copping license plate numbers? Who's dropping them off and where they're going? Were they there when they're pulling intelligence reports on some of these employers? Were they there when they're running NCIC and III on these people? Were they there when they're listening to wires? Were they there during any investigation? No, but they seen the culmination of this. They said, well, where's the reason of suspicion? I trust the professionals of the Border Patrol and ICE, all very well trained, to make sure they establish reasonable suspicion to briefly detain and question somebody, and the Supreme Court agreed with me.
On the Georgia raid, sir, on the Georgia raid, can you detail some of the allegations involved there? Were the workers there overstaying essentially B-1 visas? Can you tell us anything more about what?
I'm not in the weeds on it. All I can tell you, I promise you from day one, we're going to increase worksite enforcement operations. That's exactly what we're doing.
Just to be crystal clear, Tom, when is the National Guard going into Chicago and Boston?
I didn't say they were. There'll be a decision that's made amongst those in that building, and we certainly probably won't give you a heads up it's happening. Look, it's all these people need to understand this is dangerous stuff we're doing, and we're not going to give in broadcast what we're doing. But National Guard's always on the table. They helped us, immensely in D.C. They helped us immensely in Los Angeles. So they're always on the table. And as far as National Guard, they've helped every administration that I've been around since around Reagan. They've helped every administration, whether it's mostly on the border, but a lot of 287G, a lot of National Guard's been given 287G training, have 287G ability. But National Guard are always on the table. That's the president's call.
Is the president going to wait for a call for Chicago?
I can't comment on what the president's going to do.
Aren't you concerned that this is sending a wrong message to multinationals that are willing to invest in the United States?
You're going to invest in the United States, you got to follow the laws like we do. Bottom line, we got laws on the books, obey the laws. Is it going to affect? I don't know. But I think the president made it clear on his tweet that, his message that, you're going to come to this country, do business, you need to be legally doing it.
Should we have more raid like the one we saw in Georgia?
Yes.
And where?
I said from day one we're going to increase worksite enforcement operations. I haven't hidden that. Where? I'm not going to tell you where.
Involved in that investigation said that some of those detained were in fact U.S. citizens and lawful permanent residents. So what does that say to foreign companies that are operating?
First of all, I don't know that's even factual.
This is according to Stephen Shrink, a special agent in charge of Homeland Security investigation.
Look, when you do an operation that big, there are a lot of people, like a resident alien is supposed to carry his resident alien card with him. So people are detained briefly while we figure out, okay, exactly who are you, and what right you had to be here. So yeah, people are detained briefly, but once we get the documentation and proof of who they are, they're released. So I guarantee they weren't detained very long. Once they found out who they were and had proper documentation, they're released. That happens every law enforcement operation.
Have you found a lot of Africans among those who have been detained?
Of course, we detain people. I looked at the number. We detain people from 148 different countries.
Could you be clear when you're talking about when you're talking about ICE efforts within, for example, a Home Depot parking lot, can you clarify that each of those raids, those efforts there, that it is more than race that is justified for those
I am not in the weeds.
agents?
I'm not in the weeds on every arrest they make. I'm telling you what the standard is. These officers are trained in the standards, and I trust they're making the right decisions. And I think the Supreme Court agreed with me.
Can you have any more details about the president's idea about having more people come in to train workers on a temporary?
I'm not in the loop on that.
Can you highlight what other cities you guys are looking to conduct?
Yeah, like Los Angeles, San Francisco.
Sanctuary cities.
What about Los Angeles?
I'm not going to forecast where we're doing operations. But I've been honest. Sanctuary cities are prioritized, so figure it out. Sanctuary cities, we all know who they are. They can see an increase in police enforcement in those cities.
And what about in Republican states?
Are they sanctuary cities? Is there a crime issue there? Yes. The president's concerned about crime. If there's crime, I don't think he cares where it is. If there's a crime issue that he can help fix, he's going to fix them. As far as my concerns, the borders are, if it's a sanctuary city, I say it again, we know there's a problem there, and we're going to focus attention on those bases. Anything else?
You say you've been on the ground in Chicago, so how are you exactly ramping up, or what can we expect to see in places like Chicago? You said you've been there.
More agents on the ground. Look, in Chicago, right after we came, President took office, the first place I went to was Chicago. And one day, I was there just one day, and one day we arrested, it was either 7 or 9 child predators. We arrested 9 members of TDA. We arrested gang members that were selling handguns with a switch installed, which makes those handguns fully automatic, selling them to other gang members. We arrested 2 illegal aliens that had a murder conviction walking the streets. So one day when I was there, we made Chicago that much safer. So that's why we're back there. You know, we're going to continue to go to these sanctuary cities. Sanctuary cities are sanctuaries for criminals. And anybody that argues that aren't looking at the facts. ICE, look at the number of, ICE can supply you with every illegal alien public safety threat they've arrested in these sanctuary cities. And we're going to continue to do that until the sanctuary cities, I'm not asking, you know, the mayors and the governors to be ICE officers. I'm not asking the local police department to be ICE officers. We're asking their cops to work with our cops to help us take public safety threats off the street and make their streets safer. Don't you think the governor of Illinois and the mayor of Chicago, don't you think their number one responsibility is protection of those communities and taking public safety threats out of there? I'm not saying every illegal alien is a public safety threat, but many are. So whatever that percentage is, help us get them out of the country and make that community safer. They're here in violation of law to begin with.
As far as taking on the cartels, do you feel as though U.S. forces should be used against them with what we're seeing in Latin America, moving F-35s down to Puerto Rico?
I support it. There's a reason the president designated them terrorist organizations. These cartels have killed more Americans than every terrorist organization in the world combined. They've killed more Americans than any war. So yeah, we're at war with the cartels, so I support President 100% what he's done.
Do you have concern about the impact of fear in heavily Latino communities by your actions of this?
If you're in the United States illegally, you got nothing to fear. If you're in the country illegally, that is not okay. It's not okay to be in this country illegally. It's not okay to enter the country illegally. It's a crime.
Do you fear the economic impact that it has?
I'm concerned about the millions of people standing in line, taking their tests, doing their background investigation, and paying their fees. They're sitting in the back seat while people cheated the system. People in the country illegally cheated. The millions of people the Biden administration releasing the country to claim asylum. Look at the immigration court data. Nearly 9 out of 10 people who claim asylum at the border end up with an order removal because they don't qualify for asylum. They cheated the system. They're not escaping fear and persecution because of race, religion, political affiliation. They're coming here for a better life, and I get that. But while they're cheating the system, there are literally thousands of people in the world who really are escaping fear and persecution from their home government, and they're sitting in the back seat. There's it's a reason why we have a system of laws here. If you want to be part of the greatest nation on earth, the first thing you shouldn't do is violate our laws. Thanks, folks.